Mm. And we are back once again with another another one of this series I call An Honest Conversation. And this time I'm here with my BSS brother Ty, and we are going to be talking about Berserk. Berserk has been cooking for a little while now, even though we only see them every 4 months. They give us a great meal and then they leave. And then they leave us to just think about the meal that we had and the meal they're gonna give us next. And I've been wanting to talk to Ty about Berserk for a long time, because whenever we talk about Berserk on the BSS channel, everybody else just kind of lays out, and me and you just start. Technically, we just start glazing. We start glazing till they stop us. But before we get started, Ty, how are you doing on this fine Labor Day?
I'm chilling. Good news is that I was working on this one shot that I want to submit that I just finished today.
Hey,
I gotta do some other things with submission as far as like character bios. I gotta do a couple character sheets. I'm gonna try to finish that probably after this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm only going to have you for about an hour, so you can get back and make sure you get that done. Because Ty trying to get a little big around here, get his work looked at by some heavy hitters. Hopefully something happen. Make sure you support my boy Ty, and at some point I'm gonna bust them books out. We understand that people are asking for volume 3, but you're doing a reboot, so we're gonna let it slide. But that freaking cliffhanger at the end of the second book was brutal, bro. Me and Santo called me immediately. We talked about it. But Ty, we talk about Berserk, but for the people who don't know who you are, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your ventures, and then we can start talking about Berserk properly.
I mean, I've been an anime manga fan since I've been a kid, and it got me into art. I was growing up drawing Naruto, Dragon Ball, Bleach, all that stuff, and I've been a huge fan since. My favorite manga is Full Metal. That's why I want to make a story. Full Metal actually inspired me to give my story a very happy ending, because I think an ending where everyone pretty much gets what they want is a story that I would want to write. Yeah, that's enough about me. I'm trying to talk about Peak now.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to talk about. Peak. So, I'll start with myself. The first time I ever heard about Berserk, because I have not been an anime or manga fan nearly as long as you have. But the first time I ever heard about it was this guy, the Masked Man, on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
I saw a video by him talking about Griffith, ironically. And then right after that I saw the 3 Golden Age movies on Netflix. And we always talk about characters like we just hate this character. Like I hate Mineta, it's mainly like a joke, blah blah blah, whatever. But like Griffith is just somebody, his like we talked about it, we got mad. His downfall is so dumb to me because of how smart he is. It's just like how he fumbles his way into being this god and everything about that. I'm completely enamored by the story. It's my number 2 story. We don't need to talk about my number 1. I've talked about it enough in the BSS. But that was my first introduction to Berserk, was like the Masked Man, those movies. Next thing I know, I'm looking for the manga. I'm watching the Golden Age little that 19-hour video on YouTube. Then I'm reading I'm doing everything I can to give me more and more Berserk content. But how did you find out about Berserk, and why do you love it?
I found it through my brother. It was during COVID. I've been reading manga, watching anime for a long time, but during COVID, my brother was telling me you should read the story called Berserk, and that's kind of how I got into it. It's honestly the perfect timing, because I had just finished college. I finished college in May of 2020, so it was locked down. I was just reading manga. I was catching up to My Hero at that time too. Where was that? It was probably around season 4, like My Hero Academia, somewhere around. I don't really know, but started reading Berserk, and it was interesting because when I got to the Golden Age arc and I got to the part where Gus leaves the Band of the Hawk for the first time, because he's trying to figure out like what his passion is and figure out what he wants to do. That connected to me because I'm a kid that just finished college, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. The next steps I need to take, and sometimes that uncertainty can be a little scary, but we low-key figured it out at the same time. The part where I was like, oh, it was one of the best ways to connect to Guts specifically. And what really sold me was Wounds. Even though it's kind of like we read Black Swords, we read Golden Age, and I was enjoying it. But when I read Wounds, I was like, okay, this is maybe some next level stuff right here. This is some stuff that I ain't never read before. I ain't never seen a guy experience those things and have his female counterpart have them both heal each other in such a I never would have thought I read something like that before.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was hooked. That's probably the chapter I revisited the most. Those three, like Confession to Wounds, the chapter right after those 4 chapters, I found myself revisiting those more than I probably any set of chapters in any manga. So.
See, I'm also a big fan of Wounds, but I've told you it's the bonfire of dreams for me. When Guts, that's when he basically it's the basically the come down from the conversation Guts overhears that Griffith is having with Princess Charlotte, and Casca comes up, and he just like, you get this look at the Bama Hawk you just don't get from Guts's perspective. He's like, this guy, he's sweet on a girl, but she's worried about his status, so he's fighting so that he can get enough money to leave the Hawk and go be with his girl. Cork, like you notice that for the most of the story at that point, Guts has just been this, if we're being honest, this superhuman who's just been doing some ridiculous things, right? But then you see this softer side of him, and that freaking panel with him and Casca just on top of the cliff, and you see the lights going up, right? And Casca's like, "Oh my God, he's going to leave." That I read that. I probably read that chapter so much, and like Guts to me it was the first time where you've seen such a manly man. You see him get so low, and like I said, Wounds brings it back up, and you see that it what's the right way? It just showcases Miura's ability to be a great writer or storyteller or whatever that is, to take this guy who's been through so much, and when he finally breaks down, man, and Casca's like, I'm here, and you see him finally let go. And that's you really have noticed that he does that around Casca. Even with Griffith, he has his guard up a little bit, but with Casca, even like the Bonfire Dreams was the first one, and then Wounds was the second one. But Ty, while we talk about this, I got a ton of questions for you, especially from you from a storyteller's perspective. But the first question is, if you could change one thing about Berserk, if you could change one thing about maybe how the story's told, or anything like that, what would it be? Because if you need some time to think, I can tell you what I would change.
I got you. I think that certain things are a bit too explicit. So and I can understand from this perspective of some people being turned off by it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think there are certain scenes that aren't necessarily needed. You kind of get the point. So maybe since I think that Berserk takes it too far, and I do think that Miura, with older age and more wisdom, that you don't really see that stuff as much anymore. So as you get to Fantasia, it kind of, I think Conviction arc was probably the last arc that it was all that extra stuff was that explicit. Then it kind of fizzles out. You don't really see it as much anymore. But I would say that's probably the other thing. Then also, I wish Miura was still here to finish the story, because I want to see. I want to see Miura's vision for a lot of these panels, because I can tell you, hey, I could tell 5 different artists give them specific ways to draw. I give them an outline of a drawing, and they'll all do it differently. Like I can't, even if I describe it to you, you're still going to do it differently. So I want to see the way that he would, his dynamicism with some of these panels, his vision, because his panel is probably the most beautiful panel that I've seen. One of the best, my favorite panels in all of Berserk is when Guts first sees Griffith again at the Hill of Swords, and he's about to rage out, and it slowly fades. He hears Casca, like that stuff like that is just like it's just different level. It's so different. Or even when in the wound, again, my favorite time in the Wounds is when you see Guts and Casca cuddling, but you see like a smaller version of Guts above him, and he's comparing what he's feeling right now to the comfort he felt when Gambito gave him medicine for a scar he gave him, and his sword being next to him, and showing that Casca was a new person that could comfort him. There's stuff like that. Like his artistic symbolism is next level. Like it really is. So it's unfortunate we won't be able to see like his symbolism for some of the art, but
like this kind of plays along to what you said. My thing is certain. There's a lot of things where this is probably why I'm just never loved the Boys comic, compared to obviously the show. That when we talk about how what a show has done, what the anime has done for Demon Slayer, what the boys show has done for the boys as a product is amazing. I wish Miura didn't make certain people as bad as they were. Like for instance, the King of Midland. You know, by all rights, the king is perfectly in his rights to do what he did to Griffith. Griffith breaks into his daughter's bed. You don't know, has it, whatever happens, they have sex, they all that, and he's like, you can't do that. Like, but then when it turns out, oh, he's actually in love with his daughter and blah blah blah, now he's fucking. I'm like, come on, like he didn't need to do that, and you could have shown him just being like, man, he's just a father trying to protect his daughter, and he just bit off more than he could chew instead of making him this crazy person, right? Like this crazy person in love with his daughter or things like that. I would have probably appreciated that, maybe a few more depictions. And ironically, this is probably where Miura is going to be missed. I want to know what happened to that girl from the fucking Black Swordsman arc. She became Guts. She became Guts. And you see Guts basically give her this reason to live, right?
Yeah.
And then you see him feeling bad about it. But I'm like, she just never comes back. She just never comes back.
I'm not too mad at that. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the girl from Lost Children's. Like, she won't have a significant role in the story, and I think that's fine, because I think a lot of stories, especially with stories dealing with travelers, they do their little arc here, and then for the most part, you don't really see them again. Like I can think of Avatar. There's plenty of people that the Aang and their gang has seen, and they've helped, and they kind of just moved on, and it kind of stays there. So a lot of globe-trotting stories or traveler stories typically do that. So I'm not too mad at it. I think that the only way that I would want them to come back is if I think that they could actually do something later. Like, for example, in One Piece, there are certain characters that, yeah, we left their island, but we're going to need them for something else. So there's an expectation set that they're going to make a return. So I'm not too mad. I get it though, because I don't lie.
She's the only one that from every place that Guts has been to, that I'm like, she needs to come back for me. And but my only problem was by the time they reached kind of Alpha, I'm like, Guts is, what could she, unless she somehow gets a Baylor of her own or some shit and she becomes all powerful. I'm still sitting there like, she's still like a child. What the fuck could she do to Guts? But at the same time, I'm like, the way she was positioned, and I think that's also part of Miura trying to get the Berserk property off the ground. So maybe at one point he did have a plan for her, and then eventually, the Golden Age becomes what it becomes, and she kind of falls by the wayside, which happens, right? With a whole bunch of stories. But I was like, I wish, even if it's just like she tries and she fails, then she realizes that, hey man, maybe my father was into some crazy stuff and this and that. Maybe I don't know. I'm always just going to be thinking about her a lot and where she could have been inserted into the story. But the next question is, I guess, what is your favorite arc of the story and why?
Probably Golden Age, only because it was so happy. Well, happy relative. I mean, it's all relative, right? Relative to Berserk, because it contains my favorite chapters. Like another underrated chapter is when, after the 100, no, it was before that. Was it before the 100 Man battle? Afterwards, when Guts and Oscar in the cave, and then
it's right before. It's right before.
Yeah, like that. It's just I remember reading. I was like, man, this is like, even it's so interesting. Even seeing Casca go through like her cycle, and then Guts taking care of her. Like, that was so sweet. I was like, man, this is like, even stuff like that you don't really see in manga. Like a character having to take care of a woman he cares about because she's going through her cycle. That's such a, I don't really see that in the manga. Like, people even touching that. And then seeing them bond and seeing them, it just, and another chapter I like is when Casca tells Gus to go on without him. I was like, man, because this dude Griffith can't walk, so she got to stay behind. I was so mad. I was so angry. I was like, and then Gus was like, why do I always realize things when it's too late? I was like, it's such a beautiful tragedy, the Golden Age. It's such a beautiful tragedy.
I'm right there with you. The Golden Age is one of the best arcs ever written, in my opinion. I don't care what nobody says. From
easily
how it obviously how it starts, the tragedy of how it starts with how Guts is freaking Born to the twists and turns. Gambino selling guts for like a gold coin to freaking Donovan was wild, absolutely wild. To how Guts escapes from the band after killing Gambino, to how Guts meets the Band of the Hog. There's so many great moments, but for me, I guess obviously I've talked about the Bonfire Dreams, and another standout moment is Guts's speech to not Guts's Griffith's speech to Princess Charlotte. That speech legitimately changes everything.
It changes the whole story.
It changes the whole story. What if Guts decided to listen to Casca and got treated and then just talked to Griffith like an hour later? Nothing changes. So it's just like that whole speech, and seeing what I've always thought when every time I read that speech, I'm like, how much is he really telling the truth here? Is he saying this because he actually believes, or is he just saying that to continue to get Princess Charlotte to fall more and more in love with him?
Here's the thing, and this is why I think the Berserk characters are so nuanced. Griffith wants companionship. But he has an ego, so it's a few layers to Griffith. He wants companionship because we know that his time with Guts meant a lot to him. Like the fact he said, "You're the only person to forget about my dream," and that's so it was. We know it's meaningful for him. He also sees it as a weakness, right? So he wants a rival or someone that he can walk with alongside. But he does it. But then at the same time, his ego won't allow him to, because as soon as this person does have agency, he self-destructs. But then a piece of him is like, even outside self-destruction, his ego won't allow someone to be on his level because he wants to be on top. So he wants to be on top, but he wants companionship. But then people see agency that he wants to control, he freaks out. It's so interesting to me. And that's why I think the dilemma during the eclipse of him trying to debate my dream or my friend. And when he was at that crossroad, he's like, I choose my dream. And I'm like, man. But you know what you said about the conversation with Charlotte? The thing about it is, not when I really think about it, I think things would have been the same because of causality. Like God was like, you better watch this dude because you got that bailiff on him. I mean, you got that crimson. You got that crimson on him. So it might get nasty for y'all. So I think it would have happened, but I'd be interested to see how it would have happened. Would it have been the Band of the Hawk specifically? Would they have been in the middle of a war and it started screaming? Like what would have been the catalyst for that?
I think the Kushan Empire is still going to invade, right? Yeah. I think that if let's just say the Golden Age continues, so to speak.
Yeah.
When Ganishka pulls up with his people, he's still going to be Ganishka with the all-powerful, with his man-made Bailey or whatever. And if he gets to a point where he has to activate it, I think circumstances there is what's going to force Griffith to use it some way or somehow, right? I think that's what I've done a lot of headcanon. I'm like Riddell here. I've done a lot of headcanon to figure out how this would happen. And I still think when the Kushan Empire invades and Griffith just can't save him. He just can't do it. Like Guts, even though Guts is there, Casca there, Cork is all those people, they just can't. Midland can't survive this. And even if they somehow find a way to get Ganishka on the back foot, he pulls up the Beylik. Ganishka becomes this apostle, and they're like, "Oh my God, what do we do?" And then maybe that's how Griffith activates the Beylik. But that's maybe a whole nother alternate universe where another random and Ty are talking about this. We're like, "Oh my God, what if?" And we're talking about that. And like, hey man, what if Casca didn't tell Guts to chill out and fix his wounds first? And he heard that speech. Maybe they don't realize the significance of that speech, but we do.
And this may go into, because the lore of Berserk isn't like, we need lore on what the eclipse actually is. Like we know that it ascends someone to godhood, but like, what is this ritual, and what are the conditions? We know that you have to make a sacrifice. So I'm wondering, let's say for today's conversation, that you have to sacrifice somebody close to you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. These are, I don't know. I have to go back and read it because I don't know if it states that. But given what we know about Void, it seems like that was Griffith and Guts with him and Skull Knight. So he sacrificed somebody close to him. So I'm wondering, let's say he is in a fight with the Kushan Empire, and he said, "You can't sacrifice them. You have to sacrifice your men." That to me would just be crazy. Like I wonder if it's like you have to sacrifice something that's dear to you or something that is of value to you in some way, shape, or form. Because even though he didn't view the Band of a Hawk as friends outside of Guts, and the Costco was kind of interesting because like there was like that vision of them married, but then like
I think it's like he liked Casca enough that he realized she was an asset. Like he never Casca wanted more. Griffith was like, no, you just going. She was like, Casca she was not a booty call, but they weren't together. They was in a situationship
there are
at
tiers.
best.
There are tiers of how much he cares. So there's Guts.
Mm-hmm.
I think Casca's like right here. Then there's like the Band of the Hawk. Like
I think there's a whole tier between Guts and Casca.
No, I agree. I'm just yeah. I think she definitely like. I don't think he views her like the way he views the rest of the Band of the Hawk, but he doesn't like see her as like a friend per se. And then even the situation where he threw himself on her, it's like he has this thing with control. That he's like he's not in control. He loses his mind, and that's why the scene where he gets caught, like he shouldn't have done it, but it shows you how much of a narcissist he really is. That the moment he doesn't have control, he starts he becomes dysfunctional. He becomes chaotic and erratic. Like he can't function properly when things aren't in his control. I think that to me that's a great way to characterize someone that is so self-absorbed like him. That the moment everything's gone perfect. He's been winning wars. The king like, hey yo, like you rising up, but this one little thing stopped you, and now you malfunction.
It's so. Like at the end of the story, look, obviously we'll talk about the ending. Where me and you want the most Disney ending for Berserk that Disney has ever come up with. Like call them boys from Disney, whoever made the Coco. I forget the one that they made recently about the Day of the Dead. I forget the name of that movie. Get all them dudes who made that Disney ending and make one for Berserk. Call them, but. For instance, this is actually a question that just popped in my mind. What if Griffith won that duel? The duel where
before Guts left.
Before Guts left. By the way, do you think Griffith would have killed him?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, he said in his head, I might kill him accidentally. He said, it don't matter. I can't have you. Again, that goes to his thing about control.
I think he would have been crushed if he killed Griffith.
But that's the thing though. Like this is what I'm saying. Like he can't balance his care and ego. That even though he would be losing Guts, it's like, but you can't. But I would rather kill you than lose you. You having me losing. I would rather kill you than lose you because I don't have control over you. That just again, it's like there's always this balance of love and ego between him and his character. That he was even willing to kill his best friend over that. He was like, he said, I might not be able to pivot him properly, but I might slice his head. And no matter. Then Guts one tapped him for a battle. He blitzed him, and the boy was shook. Like he was literally shook. So
okay, all right. So in terms of Casca and how I find her, she's one of my favorite female characters just because how she's depicted. But it's crazy for the majority of the story, she's broken. She's so broken mentally she's one of the from everything I've seen, how female cosplayers feel about her and things like that. She's one of the most powerful women. And I don't say powerful because she's strong. Like, she's not omnipowerful. She's not One Punch Man, but just how she's depicted. She's powerful. Even when she's going through her cycle, she's still on the battlefield doing what she got to do. And legitimately, it's just one of those like, my boy, you just caught her on the right day. Like if you caught her 10 days from now or yesterday, Purple Rhino dude is dead. In my opinion, he's dead. He just caught her on the right day.
Yeah, I would say Casca, of any character that I've ever seen, she deserves a happy ending more than maybe any character I've ever come across. I'm wondering. Here's something I might have suggested. I might have changed. Go back to the other question. I may have given Casca a bit more agency when she's going through this mental breakdown. I get the idea of it, right? What she went through was so traumatic that, I mean, in this, I heard people complain about it, but when I really think about it, I can't imagine being in like this dark world. I see a bunch of demons playing with people's body parts. They were playing with their body parts at one point, like putting their face. It was disgusting, actually. I can't imagine.
And these people she spent years fighting with,
Like it was
knowing.
literally playing with Pippin's legs and limbs, and they were putting their body parts on, playing mad. It was disgusting. And so, and then what she went through in front of the person she loves, in front of Guts, and she sees she sees them, her friends dying. Judas dies in front of her. She's seeing her teammates getting slaughtered. She gets assaulted in front of the person she loves, by someone she used to love. And so mentally, I understand why she can't function. Because like a lot of people go through things, they literally can't function the same after that, right? So it makes sense, but I think maybe for a fictional standpoint, I think in real life that probably would be the conclusion. You just won't be able to function. I can see that happening. I think from a fictional standpoint, maybe give it a bit more agency. I do think now of all times, I'm excited to see her because she's getting her agency back. I want to see what she does with that. I guess we'll save this for the ending, but if Guts gets a slice of Griffith and then Koss gets the last blow, that'll just be justice, man.
See, that's why I think she's gonna bust out of it herself. If you know, like I think she gonna whatever this crazy Groundhog Day thing she's in right now, she gonna get out of it herself. I think it would be a disservice to her to have Guts or somebody else save her again. Yeah. Like she's only seen it once. She is of sound mind this time, right? She just like knows. She's like, also even the last time we saw her, I think she understands that there's something weird here. She just doesn't. She just doesn't know what's going on. And once she kind of breaks out of that, and maybe she breaks out of that as the remnants of the Kushan Empire are running into Falconia or Guts and his people running to Falconia to face Griffith. And that's when she breaks out. And that's when she's like, no. And she's telling the people, no, Griffith is wrong. None of this is real. He's been lying to you, this and that, and destroying his kingdom from the inside. Like I have high expectations for Casca as this story finishes, because I understand Miura's health problems, his burnout with the series, which really put her on the back foot, because that boat arc should not have lasted 9 years. But your boy was like, I can't do this anymore. Here's a chapter a year. I want to go do something else. And I get that. But I'm really excited because Miura had Ty, you was probably like me. I was gassed. I was like, finally, she's good. They did everything. They went through the decade on the boat. They did all this. She's fixed. Like they finally get to see each other. And Miura reminds us that like just because she's okay, just because we fixed her mind doesn't mean all the trauma's gone. That's probably why, like, to bring up Mushoku Tensei for a minute, why people have such a problem with that story, because Rudy is never going to be this fixed person. Too much has happened to him. The same way too much has happened to Casca. The same way too much has happened to Guts. They're just never going to be like, all right, man, Ty, let's go. Or he's going to be like, all right, Rickard, let's go grab a beer after I plow this field. He's never going to be that guy. He's never going to do that. He's just going to be like, I feel like even after the story, maybe when they're having 2 kids, there's going to be a day where Casca has a really bad nightmare about what happened and Guts is there. There's going to be a day where Griffith's working in the field and he just has a panic attack and Casca's there. They're just always going to be bigging each other up, making sure that they can just make it through life after everything happened, right? Yeah. And that's how I feel, even though maybe you and I will understand that, but people are like, well, here's the happy ending, blah, blah, blah. But we just gonna we just know, like, they're never going to be whole. And it takes a really strong, I guess, author or a guy who really understands the story to showcase that. That's why when she looks at Guts and she just everything that happened to her, even though Guts was suffering, like, obviously not as, I'm not going to say she was suffering not as much as she was, but Guts was suffering too. But just seeing him brought back all the trauma, brought back the eclipse. Rest in peace, my boy Judah. Like he should have made it. If there was one person, I'd sacrifice Rickard in a second to bring him back. And I love Rickard.
I don't know about it. I mean, he's younger though.
I got you, but like Judah should have made it. I love that dude. He should have made it. He should have made it, Ty.
No, I wanted him to. I mean, his ending was really, he didn't get to tell Casca how he felt, which I think was
know,
like,
man. He never did. And it was just like, and the fact that he bowed out because he saw everything before nobody else did.
Yeah, he put guts on. He real for that.
He's like, I'm like,
You know, he's a real one. Like
he's a real one. That's what, like, he should have made it, Ty. I don't care what nobody say. He should have made it. If the one person who found a way, maybe he's so broken, you know, that he can never step, but he should have made it. He deserved to make it. Like Corcus, kill him twice. Kill Corcus twice. He was a hater from the beginning. Kill Corcus twice.
I felt bad for him though, Corcus a little bit.
Man, he ain't shit.
I felt bad because, but here's the thing, right? Yeah, he was a jerk to Guts, but nobody deserves an eclipse.
I agree. No, by the way, and the way that he died was like was so foul.
Yeah, that
was so foul, but it makes sense because all this crazy stuff, the world has legitimately changed for you. And all of a sudden, some fine woman's like, just come here. And I'm like, Corcus, I would have done it too. At that point, I don't know what's happening. I would have done it too.
Yeah. Probably.
But at the same time, I'm like, get Corcus out of here. Get him out. My boy, you saw him kill 100 people and you were still hating. Still hating, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, man. But now let's talk about where the story is now. You know, where you said it before me, so I'm not gonna claim it. Where Berserk could honestly give us the best war arc of all time. Let's hold on. Let me lay the foundations. All right. The island is gone. Casca was taken by Griffith. What do you call it? Magic. People just don't have magic anymore, or like the way magic works in the world is different because they kind of have it, but they don't have it. And then Guts' group was captured, but also Guts is broken because throughout everything, Guts always when he lost Casca, he had his sword. And just when they see each other, it's revealed the Moonlight Boy's Griffith, and Guts swings his sword at him, and everything he's done, Ty. Every single thing he's done, how strong he's become, meant nothing. Nothing. And he's broken. And first of all, Ty, how did you feel in that moment? Because I basically threw my phone. You see the little crack on my screen right here? Let me show you. This little crack on my screen. That's from that. Because how dare you take me all this way and tell me that, you know what that's like? That's like, you know what, Luffy, I don't know nothing about One Piece. I don't know nothing about One Piece, but I'm just going to say this because this is the best way. Because if I say about Bakugo, you're going to say I'm hating, right? Luffy, you did all this, man. You fought the government. You did all this. You pull up to the One Piece, and the 5 elders are there, and all that work you did, all that work meant nothing. You can never get there. You're still too far away from the One Piece. Like, it just felt like if there was one chest, you even see a little chink in Griffith's armor crack, it was right there. And Miura said, nah, not at all.
I mean, we kind of see it because we know he's a Moonlight Boy. I mean, that is the way to take him out because as the Moonlight Boy, I'm pretty sure he's killable. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
They're not going to kill the kid. They're not going to kill him.
I know. They're not going to kill it, right?
Yeah. Like, you see what I mean?
But knowing that's a weakness is still an advantage in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But how I felt, so when Guts was slicing through Griffith and it was just fading through and it wasn't working, and then he put his foot on the sword and it was a parallel to their first encounter, I was like, that didn't really get me. When he took Casca, that's when I was heated. So I was thinking to myself, Griffith is in his mind done with Guts. So all this slicing, maybe he might just go away, and maybe that's all it is. But he takes Casca, and I was like,
oh, I was at that point. I was in despair because I was basically crying. Like, don't do this to them. Not give them a chapter, Miura. Just let them have a chapter together. Maybe they take a walk or something. But they face it back to back where they talk around the tree. Just let them have. Don't take her away so quickly.
You know something I would have loved. I ain't gonna lie. Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll go back to the question. What would I change? When they realize she can't see, when Casca realized she can't see Guts, maybe they talk through like some romance movie, they talk through a door or something.
Yeah.
Give me a chapter of that. Or 5 pages. And then I just want them to catch up. Not or just say I miss you. I mean, because obviously when Casca heard about Guts, she started crying because she obviously loves Guts. And then Gus is like nervous to see her. Like that's to me. It's also like you ain't seen your girl in a long time. You kind of got the butterflies. Kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like that was so real. It was like, yo, like, or let's say you stop talking to somebody, then y'all start dating again. That's kind of how it felt. Yeah, just give me half a chapter of that. Like, matter of fact, the chapter that Griffith turns to the Moonlight Boy, have them have their conversation behind that damn door, right? Then he goes outside, and he's doing some stuff with a little kid, and then maybe make the chapter a little bit longer, then have Griffith turn to a Moonlight Child. Perfect chapter. Because him hanging out with his son was low-key fire.
Yeah, it was. Like Berserk has, whenever you get these quiet, peaceful, or even happy moments, the Berserk has taught you to cherish them. Like, because the next 20 chapters, some of the craziest stuff's about, like, for instance, when right before the conviction arc, right? By the way, having Casca as basically a mentally challenged little girl in the most hedonistic place on the planet,
that's crazy,
was wild. And I'm sitting there like, before that was like, I understand he was still fighting like demons at night, but they had those little moments where obviously Casca's like trying to get away, but just those moments where he's like, look, I'm just be here with me, man. Just chill, bro. Like, Casca, I know you don't know what's going on, but let's just relax. And then the Knights pull up, Farnese pulls up, she gets taken, and everything it's like every time you just know you're about to go, like you're falling down Mount Everest for a while, and then you get to the bottom, you're like, all right. And then you trip and you fall down Mount Everest again, if that makes any sense. But going back to where the story is now. Ty, how do you feel about where the story is right now? The setup, how is Guts gonna find agency again? Because I was surprised the Beast of Darkness, they didn't have the Beast of Darkness take his chance right there, in terms of Guts was so broken, he finally came out, and you're like, this is it. Like, this Guts is about to be taken, but nothing happened. So how do you feel about where the story is right now?
I think setup is great. I mean, I think the rivalry Guts and Griffith have, it's. I think as far as setup build up, I think he has a chance to have arguably the greatest emotional catharsis in the story, just because you set up these two characters that were once best friends, once there was like this love triangle, and then Casca gets involved, and Guts falls in love, and also like with Griffith, what happens to her, him trying to save her, him feeling betrayed by his best friend. Like, even when how fierce Guts was when he was like, you telling me you don't feel anything? We lost all our friends. You don't feel, when they first met the Hilo Story, you don't feel anything good. I ain't never seen Guts has looked distraught a few times. He looked like he looked distraught. He looked sad. He looked hurt. Like, he's like, yo, forget what you did. Do you even feel bad about it? Like, I get it. You did what you did. I'm not even worried about that now. Do you feel bad about it? And that's what I need to know. And Griffith said no, and that just threw Guts off the wall. He couldn't believe it. He's like, you don't feel an ounce of guilt in your heart. I think Gus would have low-key been relieved to feel that Griffith felt bad. Not that he would have forgiven him, not that he would have not tried to kill him still, but it was like the knife was in, and then Griffith saying he didn't care, just stuck it in a little deeper. It's like, dang, you did all that, you didn't care about me. And considering they were such close friends, for someone I valued as a friend and you hurt me, you don't care, hurts more than you hurting me in general, right? So I think the setup is there. Man, I want Casca to come back. I really do.
I mean,
I want Casca. I want Casca to have a happy ending. Yeah, I want Griff to get packed up. That's where I'm at right now. There's really, I mean, I get all the extra stuff going on. As far as where it's at now, I'm really interested to see the more lore we get about the God Hand. Because I feel like that is, there's so many plot that's much built up. We have the rivalry between Guts and Griffith. We have Casca getting agency back. We have the God Hand. We have Skull Knight trying to get revenge on Void. We have all these lingering plot lines that I'm really excited to see. So I just think that us getting all these reveals and all this closure, all these character arcs and moments in a final saga is gonna be crazy. So I'm ready for it.
So I was left like you with those questions. My only problem with this war arc that's about to happen is, how does the Kushian Empire mount any resistance against Falconia? especially if Griffith is coming with all his new apostles and the new band of the Hawk. How do they mount any defense against Falconia? They're all a bunch of demons, you know, and we understand when demons step on the field, unless you're Guts, you know, or Isidro, who are, by the way, complete superhumans in that world, nobody stands a chance. Maybe Rickard, because he's smart as hell. Maybe he can. He's the one who finally brings like actual like guns. I know they have cannons and things like that, right? Or do they? Do they have cannons in that world?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he's the one that invents like rifles or something. I don't know. I'm Rickard at this point. If he just comes up with something, my boy got the ages. He's smart enough. He'll figure it out. But how does Salad and the new or whatever's left the Kushan Empire, even though they took the witches to use them as a force, right? And I'm worried about them with that dude. I forget the dude's name, the Salad's advisor, the old guy.
Yeah.
I'm worried about them. I'm worried that they're gonna all die because that dude's gonna do something devious to him. But how does the Kushan Empire stand any chance once they start fighting?
Here's the thing, and this is why I think it's written so well. If you're following a traditional 3-act story structure, we're at the part. So you have the first act that has a development stage, inciting incident. Second act is that there's a pinch point or a twist, a midpoint, a final twist, and in the third act, there is another pinch point right before the climax. And the thing about that, the last pinch point is important, is that at this point, the protagonist and the audience should feel like there's no way they can win. That is like literally written. One of my favorite books called Creating Character Arcs. It talks about that final pinch point should be, the audience should believe, based on how the story's rise to action has gone, how much confidence has risen. The audience should believe that there is no way they can win. Like, that's why a lot of times when you get, for example, JJK, we're like, man, how are they going to be Sukuna? There's always like
they
these
was
questions.
Jumping in with everybody.
You act like you can do the thing with Frieza. After the spirit on the final twist, that final pitch point with Frieza didn't die. That was one of the pits. Like, how do they beat this dude after this? And so I think this is perfect. The fact that I'm going like, I don't see it. They gotta, because I mean, I'm assuming I don't know if the story plans to get rid of the God Hand, because these dudes can't. They can't just keep doing this, bro. Like they can't.
I got a hot take about them, but I'll save that for later.
So I don't know how they're gonna be Griffith. I don't know if they're gonna fight the God. I mean, I know Skull Knight wants to fight him, but I don't know. But I think it's a good thing that I am so on edge. I really can't see them winning. And also the characters feel that way. Gut feels distraught. He doesn't have the confidence right now. So I think
we pick up his sword, bro. I don't think if he saw his sword, he wouldn't want to pick it up.
But exactly. But I think us feeling the way that Gus feels is right where the story has us right where they want us at. That we can't see any can see where they can win. So that's why I think it's good.
So we talked about this I think a couple times before, but Ty, you're the writer here. How do they beat Griffith? How do they do it in your opinion? Like, obviously you don't. I know you just say you don't know.
Yeah.
But put your mind in these writers' hands. Remember, you still have the Bailet that Guts has, right?
Even I don't think he'd ever use it.
They got the weakness of the Moonlight Boy. Maybe Rickard comes up with something other than Griffith. Technically, the three people who've hurt Griffith the most, right? The King of Midland, Guts, and Rickard. Those are three people who actually inflicted physical harm on him, right? Oh, and Zod, but Zod turned the leaf, so Zod ain't defected. So
you know something? Here's a few things that have to happen. Usually when these things happen in stories, I feel like, at least from my perspective, that the story has to nerf them to make it reasonable. Like, obviously starting off, it's pretty like, I don't know how they're gonna win. But then they end up doing so. But usually it's because their powers malfunction or a character rises to the occasion. Now I think the latter is not possible. I don't think Gus is ever going to become God Hand level. I don't see that happening. So that would mean that Griffith has to be nerfed. Now, he can be nerfed a few ways. Moonlight Child, something dealing with that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Say it, Ty. I think I'm right with you.
Could the God Hand snake Griffith in some way? I don't know. Like, could they do something like that? Maybe. Could it be something with, does Skull Knight have something that because think about it, if Skull Knight's been planning to take down God Hand members, because the Skull Knight have something that can make God Hand members killable. Who knows? So I think that Griffith will get nerfed in some way, and that could either be through the Moonlight Child, through Skull Knight, or the other God Hand members. But in some way before he's gonna get nerfed, and then he will be killable.
Okay, so let's we're kind of winding out. We've been 45 minutes on this. Let's talk hot takes. Let me go first. My hot take is there's going to be a moment in the fight where Griffith is still winning, but the God Hand snake him. So, like, for my instance, my thing, I think Skull Knight's fight with the God Hand is going to continue after the story. I don't think the God Hand will be defeated in the story. But the problem is that fight will happen in some other plane. It won't happen within the Berserk world anymore. I think the God Hand will snake him because they'll be like, "Why is this fight taking so long? What's happening?" And then even though they still Griffith in at least in our mind, like Griffith's still all powerful, he's gonna win. They're gonna snake him, and that's gonna be the biggest, or maybe the most consequential downfall of Griffith to your idea of him being nerfed, and then the God Hand retreat from the plane, and they try to go find somebody else to become the new Femto or whatever that guy is. And that's where the Skull Knight's gonna be like, no, the fuck you're not. And he chases them. Even though I was really amped up for that Balit sword that he had, whatever the fuck that sword was, that we turned out that sword didn't mean anything because Void just blocked that mug like it was nothing. So I think the God Hand snake Griffith, they betray him and they disappear, but Skull Knight chases after them. And I think that story could be told by somebody else.
What if, because we know that the bailiffs connect people, what if the bailiffs are destroyed, which cuts off the God's Hand's connection to the world?
I'm not mad at that, Ty. I'm not mad at that.
That's the way
that's
the way that you can kill them without killing them. Like if the bailiffs bring people connected to the God Hand, you defeat Griffith, and the bailiffs are destroyed, or something happens to them that severs the connection the God Hand has to the real world, and then that's the way that you stop them. Because I was thinking like, what if they sealed the God Hand? That could be a form of sealing, for lack of a better word.
For everything I've seen, they're too powerful to be destroyed conventionally.
Yeah,
I mean, even when Slant manifested during the Lost Children arc, she was just playing with Guts. She was just playing with him. She was never in any danger. So I'm just like, they're just too powerful. And unless you can find a way to nerf all of them, which I think would be weird. So I just think the more and more I think about it, I think the more and more the God Hand they look at Griffith when he dies and be like, well, that didn't work. Let's go find something else. But I'm not mad if they get sealed away. Maybe they go to another plane of existence, or maybe this story happens in like another world in the same universe goes through what the Guts' world goes through.
Because the bailiffs do connect the astral world and the living world. So you honestly, you destroyed them, then the God Hand's gone. Now, how do you destroy them? I don't know. That's how you would stop the God Hand, if you destroy the bailiffs.
Oh, also, my other take, Casca is the one that kills Griffith, not Guts.
I'm on that.
Hey, Guts, I know you want, maybe at that point that he's just too hurt. Like Guts is unhumanly like resilient to pain, but there's just the one time he can't do it because he's just too hurt. And whether it's Casca finds a way to lift his sword in like a feat of superhuman strength because of everything that's happened to her, or she cuts him down with her own sword. But I think it's Casca that gets the final blow. But let's go with your hot takes, Ty.
My hot take would be they do like a Goku Gohan father son Kamehameha, 2 swords slice at the same time. I'd be down with that. I'd be like, yo, give me listen, because I would say Casca deserves that. She deserves blood more, but I want Gus to get that. I want them both to. They both get a sword and they both cut his head off. I feel like that'd be satisfying. They both end him. That'd be tough. A hot take. I don't know. Is it a hot? I don't know. I don't know if I have a hot Berserk take, Oh no, I do have one. I think when you talk about influential manga, Berserk should not be outside the top 3.
List them. List the manga that
So if I were to say
potentially be in your top 3.
Dragon Ball, Berserk,
One Piece.
Influential. I don't know if I would probably say so. I would probably say Dragon Ball, Berserk. Then you can either go Naruto for the 3rd spot. Naruto, Sailor Moon, Fist of the North Star. Those probably be like the honorable mentions for 3. But I ain't gonna lie, I think Dragon Ball. I'll do this: Berserk, Sailor Moon, and Dragon Ball, because for each demographic, at least one of the. I think that from shoujo, seinen, and shonen those are massive demographics, and so I think that the greatest stories the most influential stories from those 3 demographics would be the most influential.
There we go. Much better, because I'm out here getting dark. So all right. So last few questions here. 10 minutes left, and I'm just gonna let you. I'm just gonna let you cook it up for a little bit. Let's just start glazing this story like we should, like where we where we said. So let's look at the rest of the Berserk cast real quick. Isidro, Rickard, Farnese, Serpico. Serpico is somebody I've always kind of intrigued by, because what's his final end going to be? I could easily see him dying to protect Farnese at some point, or maybe I could see him getting together with Farnese at some point. I could see him. I think he's going to have a lot of rivalries with the apostles that Griffith has.
By the way, this is a side note. When I found out, when the author of Black Clover said, Tabata said that he wanted Black Clover to be a shonen Berserk, I said, Serpico. I instantly made that connection. As far as their wind spirits, literally, like I was like, okay, that makes perfect sense. The medieval,
one of the few people in the story to push Guts to a really good limit. I mean, Isidro's a very smart fighter. You saw he caught Guts on that cliff, and he got him in the way he couldn't use his sword. And I'm like,
it's interesting. Like that was an interesting connection, but Serpico, what I see his ending. I mean, I think his whole thing was at least his character arc was about him trusting Guts as someone that Farnese can trust as well. So I think that's pretty much settled now. That they're a crew now. I think moving forward, he's gonna be he is. I think you have like a princess and a guard. I think that's his role for moving forward. He's definitely gonna have some major battles with apostles. I can see that. I think everyone in the main cast. I think Isidro, because he is kind of like he wants to be like he's like a little Guts.
His reconciliation with Guts, so to speak, because he's also a guy who's like, how could you just lay down like that? How could you do this? Like he's never seen Guts be weak before. So and his when Guts was getting taken away, his reaction to that was also highly telling to me. So whatever that conversation with Guts is going to be, I'm very interested to see.
Yeah, I think he's going to become a warrior like Guts. I think that'll be his conclusion, because that's what he wants. He wants to be a fighter like Guts. So I think that'll be his conclusion. Farnese, you know what's interesting about her? When she had that crush on Guts, and then when they go into Casca's mind, and she kind of sees Guts and Casca as a thing, she's like, I always had a feeling, but seeing it's kind of like I was like, that kind of feel bad. I was like, oh man, even though I know I want Guts and Casca together, like she's such a like, after she got past all the proper religious propaganda,
her turnaround, or at least her character. Would you call it character arc, or her character journey has been very good, from legitimately probably being she believed so much in her religion or her cult or whatever you want to call it, that when she finally got out of it, she had to find out who she really was, and she latched on to Guts, and then she latched on to Guts and Casca, and in ways that I think really matched what her character was. Like, if Farnese is not there, Casca is cooked. Like, Guts can only do so much, but there's a reason why Casca trusted her so implicitly while in her mental state, right?
I think
another hot take. I think Goto, one of the best mentor characters, as far as his advice to Guts and his wisdom. He's such a like that uncle in your neighborhood he's just talking about life, but then he says some deep stuff out of nowhere. Like when he's talking to Guts about him being a blacksmith and why he loves being a blacksmith, and that Guts was like, maybe this could be my me as a swordsman, like just finding a passion that extends past just a hobby, but something that becomes who I am. Goto is, and then the Cracks in the Blade is also another chapter I revisit a lot. Cracks in the Blade, where he's telling Guts like, "You're a coward for running away." Essentially, he calls out his cowardice essentially, and tells Guts like, "You left Casca, so you don't like this whole running around and trying to get revenge. You should have been saving Casca." And at that point forward, Guts never would put revenge over Casca. That is, I think that advice, for as far as what it did for his character, shifted the story. Like the reason why they're on Fantasia is because of that advice. Because he tells Guts like, you need to take, like, you don't, like, all y'all have is each other at this point. And so putting aside selfish desires over her was immature, and Gus said he'll never lose her again after that. So that was probably the best advice that he's ever gotten.
I mean, shout out to Berserk using basically speeches or conversations to dramatically shift the story. I mean, other than the eclipse, which is, the eclipse is one of the greatest plot twists in fiction, right?
Yeah,
like one of the greatest plot twists in fiction. But most of the other ones are conversations. It's the Guts speech, the Goto scolding. Let's keep it a stack, because
he called him out.
Yeah, the one thing the Black Swordsman arc told you is like, hey man, all this, he did all this and it meant nothing.
Yeah,
he just went back to Goto and with some fresh scars. That's all he came back with. Nothing changed. So we haven't got this. There's still Shirke, and I don't know. Are they going to take the way where she ends up with Isidro? Is that what's going to happen, or is she just going to end up by herself?
I can kind of see that, because there was that one time like he was making fun of her and then she was kind of embarrassed. He's like, he felt bad. I was like, are they going to be a thing? I was like, I don't really know. That'd be cute though. I think
I'm not mad at it, but I still got whatever her connection is with the girl who can see the future on Griffith's side. Who, by the way, she is totally going to defect at one point. She's definitely switching sides, in my opinion. She's switching sides the minute she's like, oh, this dude was not what I thought he was.
She's definitely brainwashed right now.
Yeah, she's not what I thought he was, and she's dipping, right? But I think whatever her relationship is going to be with, I always forget her name, but I always call her the girl who can see the future.
Yeah, I forgot her name too.
Yeah, her relationship is going to be interesting. I'm thinking, I'm not going to say Uraraka and Toga relate like that kind, because they're just not hostile like that. But it's going to be, I'm expecting that kind of level of interaction in terms of at some point they're just going to have a very important conversation that deserves its own chapter, which just them. And you and I are going to be like, yeah, this makes sense. You got to wait 4 more months to see Guts again. And this is very important. I think that's going to be very big for them. Obviously, the girl can see the future, what she's going to be doing as she really figures out what Griffith is like. Charlotte, we've talked about her. What about her?
I think she's going to just run Midland. Like, that's...
You think she's going to make it? I mean, you think after she figures out what Griffith truly is, what happens? I think her and Casca together tear Griffith's dream of his kingdom down from the inside.
The only reason I think she's gonna still run a kingdom in place of Griffith is because Gus is not gonna do it.
No, he chilling.
Casca's not gonna want to do it either.
Nah, we good.
So I don't see anyone in the main cast even caring to do it. So I feel like I think she was a very honest and genuine person. She actually cared about people. So I feel like she's want to take on the responsibility of, like, I mean, I guess she might feel in a way responsible. Like, if I had just known, maybe I could have saved more people. Maybe I could have done this and that. So I think she's going to take that responsibility as someone who is royalty. So I think she's going to run a kingdom.
God, the only royal person left in the story, right?
Yeah, that's I mean, that's of like
her and the noble guy who tried Griffith one time and got caught. He's still alive,
mean,
little fat boy, little short
yeah,
king.
but that it, bro.
Maybe he helps her run the kingdom, or maybe he gets got. He go either way. Because when I saw him in the story again, I was like, "What? How did he make it? Of all the people, how did he make it? Right?
Charlotte, she might run the kingdom. I can see that.
Yeah. So, obviously, we talked about that. Ty. How long is it before we ever see, if they ever try again, a proper Berserk remake official? Obviously, there's the fan one that's going on about the Black Swordsman one, but when we ever see an official remake again, and don't cut out the best parts about the Golden Age, besides obviously the armament, is the politics of Midland, showing that Griffith is this all. He's not just great on the battlefield; he's great off of it. All the politics around it, I love that. I think Miura did a really good job with that. But who would you like to helm that, if there is someone you would like? The only person I say is not Disney. Disney cannot handle a property like that.
So here's the thing. Berserk might need to go to something like Stars or something, just because because the nudity, I can't, like, can they show Berserk's one of them stories that you have to cut out things. So I think here's my thing, right? If they do bring Berserk, I think a lot of the explicit scenes, as far as like the intercourse scenes or lack of,
we don't need to show guts sleeping with that demon at the start of the
or so the intercourse scenes or lack of consent scenes. I think there's a few that I think you need from this. Like, so Gus and Casca, I think when they first make love, I think that was pretty necessary. That
was extreme. Yeah,
I think the parallel that scene had to Griffith and Charlotte, like, you need to see that dichotomy between their two. Like, Guts and Casca were genuine. Griffith was just trying to get those scenes were placed back to back for a reason. But some of the other stuff you can kind of just allude to it. Like, we can get the idea. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think if you do that, then I think you can adapt Berserk. But it's gonna be rated R, like as rated R as any rated R story has ever been. So I think you might need to go to Stars or something. Kids do not, like, you can't go to Crunchyroll because kids are on the, like, if you do Crunchyroll, there needs to be like a safe wall where it's like you get it in your birthday and the Crunchyroll account.
No, we gotta verify your age, bro. We gotta scan your face.
You might need to scan your driver's license or something. If you ain't got a driver's license, scan your ID, something, because
and kids can't have access to that. Yeah, real quick, Ty, to cut you off. A lot of people are gonna say, "Well, Attack on Titan is not Berserk."
It's not.
It's really not Berserk at all, and I want people to understand that it's really not at all. So don't throw that really bad comparison out there.
I think people think, like, so a lot of times it's not the level of violence, it's how explicit the violence is. So, perfect example. In JJK, you remember when Itadori is fighting Sukuna in his innate domain to begin the story, and they make that contract like, yo, if I beat you, then you got to follow my condition for this binding vow. And then Sukuna cuts his head off. Cutting someone's head off is crazy. But the issue with Berserk, if someone gets their head cut off, you don't see the brain, their eyeball. Like, you don't see all this. Like, you don't see, like, it's going to be the most explicit. You see all their guts and their teeth and all that stuff flying everywhere. That's what makes that different. Like, sure, seeing people cut their heads off, see people die, it's not the issue. It's how it's presented is the issue. We see people die in Attack on Titan. I'm not going to see their brain pop out like in a Berserk. I'm not going to see certain things like that. It's not going to be when someone gets. I'm not going to see somebody get cut in half and all their intestines are on the ground now. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same.
Yeah, like Star Wars is it's teen for a reason. You notice there's like this tradition in every main Star Wars movie, somebody gets their arm cut off. Every movie. I don't know why George Lucas just thought it was hilarious or something like that. I don't know. But like, even the way that's presented, it's always a clean cut. The wound is already cauterized, and they just everybody's like, oh shit, and then they just keep it moving. Next scene, right? So like I'm always worried. Like, if I could pick a Japanese, like, to be honest with you, I think Ufotable could do anything. I really do think they could do anything, but this story might just be too graphic for them. So, and I'm looking at people who are left, like, I don't want Mappa to do it because they're gonna rush it, right? Wit Studios, they're making One Piece, so they're not in it. So maybe you might be right. It might be a Stars.
If the studio makes it, they need to release it on something like Stars or something that kids usually don't have access to, because you can't put it on anywhere else. You can't put it on Netflix. I mean, I guess you could.
You could, but you gotta that means Netflix, you have to change how you curate explicit content, because the first people I thought, because this is going to take a lot of money, right? To do everything that, for instance, the Battle of Doldry itself, massive battle. The way Guts and I always forget that commander's name, they fight, how their fight. By the way, you want to show how a medieval battle works, where multiple things are happening at the same time in the same sequence, where the Band of the Hawk is running toward the water. They're being chased. The commander thinks it's over. He's running. We call it. Corcus is like, you know what? We're at the edge. They start duking it out, and the whole time they're showing, because the whole time you don't even think about where Casca's at, because you never see her, right? Until she busts in with her squad, and she has her fight with a purple rhino guy, right? And all that. And to show a whole sequence, and the whole time you're like, hey man, Casca, I need you to win this fight, because they're not going for real, they're not gonna make it. So just, I think just the sheer scale of some of the fights are gonna be so crazy that I would be very interested to see. I think Netflix could do it. They have the money. They're just like Netflix, if you do decide to take on this project, which by the way would cement you in the anime world if you do this right.
Yeah.
You need to fully commit in terms of showing obviously not all of it, but the scenes that do need to be explicit, you need to commit. You need to handle the criticism, handle it, because there will be, no matter what you do, handle the criticism. And then at the end of it all, say, yeah, y'all was hating, but this is the most watched thing we've ever had on our platform. Like Karens, all the Karens from Beverly Hills was hating, but that's crazy. Y'all was watching it too. And by the time that's done, like, there's a reason why, Ty, every time we've talked about it, whoever does Berserk right will create the greatest anime of all time.
I agree. I think I think about it. Game of Thrones is on Hulu. I think Game of Thrones is probably pretty graphic, but throw it on Hulu, throw it on IMAX, throw it on Stars or something. And let's get to work, man. So to answer your question, I don't know who's gonna do it. I don't think it may. I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I'm not gonna be Lonnie. So
yeah, I'm not gonna be Lonnie either, man.
Probably not gonna get done.
It's a shame. It's a goddamn shame, because the pieces are there. Like, I think the Golden Age movies are good, right? They're good.
Yeah.
But they skip a lot of things that make it great. Like, we don't see any of the political moves that Griffith does to Rise in the Kingdom. I think they really nerfed the Battle of Doldry. Even the Eclipse is not done to the shocking value that it was, because the first time I ever saw the Eclipse was the movies, and I was like, damn, right? And I kept it moving. Then I saw the 98 anime, and I was like, oh my God. And then you read it, and Ty, when you read it, I'm like, oh, hell nah. Not look, Pippin's always a homie, but look, Pippin, I never heard Pippin say 3 words at the same time. So I get that he was gone. Corcus is gone. I'm always gonna be like, free my boy Judah forever he's at. If they find a way to bring him back from the afterlife, pull the trigger, bring him back. But it feels like it's this ultimate project. Like, when people think that Blade, like Disney not being able to figure out Blade is hard, like Berserk is going to be this unfortunate masterpiece that's never going to get a proper adaptation, and I've accepted that. Like I said, I'm not going to be Lonnie. I'm not going to get my hopes up for news of a remake, and then I get a museum, and then all of a sudden, because dear God, if I ever do that, Lonnie, I bet money, because how petty he is, he's going to get a suit. He's gonna probably get some more props than me and just kill me in his sermon. But I look, in the back of my mind, do I really think it can be done, Ty? I do. I really do think somebody can do it. But when you decide to do it, you have to truly understand what you're adapting. This isn't like the guys who are making Yakuza for Amazon Prime or whatever, and they say we've never played the game. You gotta at least play the game, Ty. If you're gonna make a story about a video game, you gotta at least make the game, play the game at least once. So it's gonna take obviously the right director, which I can't even think of one right now. This like maybe it's like a mix of like Steven Spielberg, like whoever made the Lord of the Rings, the best horror director, the best I don't know, the best action choreographer. I don't know what it is. Like it's like a lot of these mixes. You're gonna have to be able to handle all the criticism. You're gonna need all the money in the world, and I don't know, man. Maybe when we're 70, Ty, and we finally see it then. But a problem is our hearts will be too weak to actually handle it anymore because we're gonna be too old. But I still think it'd be done. But I'm not holding my hopes up, Ty. But anything else you want to add, Ty? Or let's just start glazing. Start talking about
good, man.
Yeah, let's look. Berserk arguably has the greatest rivalry of all time. Maybe the greatest anime villain of all time.
The greatest MC?
The greatest MC of all time. The greatest, it could have the greatest war arc of all time. There's a reason why when everybody talks about, like, every time you see a big anime guy with a sword, like an anime guy with black hair and a sword.
Guts popularized that.
Yeah, sure. Man. Like, y'all thought Cloud was cool. Cloud was biting off Guts. Like, one of the most influential pieces of fiction. It's Berserk is amazing.
Maybe the best manga art of all time.
Maybe the best manga art of all time. I'm willing to put it up there with the dedication it took, where Miura was like, yeah, I wake up at 6, I eat breakfast for 30 minutes, and then I work on the manga till about 5 o'clock at night. I take a break to watch TV with my family for an hour, and then I work on it for 5 more hours, and then I go to sleep again, and I start the day over the next day. Like, this manga killed him. It killed him. And that kind of dedication, you only see, whether it's like LeBron being the best in basketball because he was willing to make the sacrifices, or anytime you see somebody doing something great, like, there are things you have to sacrifice. And unfortunately for Miura, he sacrificed his life, but he created a masterpiece. Yeah. And it's something that Ty, obviously you and I, there was always going to be a little bit of what if, but the people that have chosen to take up what he's done are clearly understanding what is in front of them. They're doing it right, and they're not rushing it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they're handling it with the care that it deserves. And I mean, if this heading hits where you and I are like, give me that epilogue chapter, I need Rickert, Shirke, and Isidro 5 years from now, and maybe Farnese is pregnant with fucking Serpico's kid, and they're walking up, and Guts is like waving at them with his one arm, and Casca's running around with 3 kids, and
he's gonna look great. They're gonna grow that arm back. I don't know how they're gonna grow it back though.
Grow it back. He deserves it. He deserves it.
He's gonna get his eye back. He's gonna grow his arm back.
It's gonna be the most Disney ending. Yeah,
I don't know how it's gonna happen, but he's gonna get an arm back.
It's gonna be the most Mickey Disney ending of all time, and the story deserves it, Ty. It deserves it. I need Casca at one point in the conversation. Casca's wiping the food off of one of her kids' faces. Like, I need all of that. All right. I need them to have a dog, Ty, that's the most cute dog of all time, and it sticks by the daughter because the daughter loves it the most. Like, whatever it is, give me all the cute shit in there. Give me the slice of life cute shit. Put it in there. Because God damn it, they deserve it.
They're gonna build a house on the Hill of Swords, right there, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the Hill of Swords will be the front yard.
You think? Last question, Ty. You think after they kill Griffith, maybe maybe they kill Femto and whatever the Griffith guy is. I don't think he's ever going to be like, I apologize, right? He's never going to apologize for like, this is what I did to get my kingdom. But you think those three are ever going to have like, maybe it's in like the ethereal, some kind of magic, and those three just have a conversation before Griffith disappears into the ether?
I think they will, but it's gonna be. I think Casca's gonna tell him off, and she deserves to. I think it might be a thing where as he's dying, she lets him have it, and they're gonna probably talk down on him and tell him like how small he is, and you like basically let him know that all the things he fought for were meaningless, and that true love is more important. And
Griffith's gonna be like, I don't care. I fought for my dream. And I'm like, you know what? At least you stood on business. Because if he starts like crying or whatever, that would completely destroy who he was, everything that he did as a character. But he's like, I don't care. I almost did it. I almost did it. And I would do it all again tomorrow. And I'm like, have you ever seen Spartacus on Stars? So there's this character called Asher. And when you first meet him, he's like he's kind of Middle Eastern. You know, the story Spartacus, a slave who rebels against Rome, right? They bring this kid in, and him and another guy, and he's clearly like the brains of the two, right? And he's like a shit gladiator, right? But by the end of his story, my boy connived and schemed his way to being like he's leading his own Roman, like he's leading his own band of mercenaries as they attack Spartacus to try and kill him. And at the end, when he's basically defeated, he's like, you think I'm gonna say sorry?
Yeah, it's kind of like Sukuna. Sukuna was like, "What don't look down on me?"
I'm like, don't like you think you like, and he's like, you think you killing me is gonna erase everything I did to y'all? And he's like, I'd do it again. He's like, I'd do it again. I'm like, all right, Asher, I fucking hated you, but I respect it. And he's just looking, especially at his main op, which is not Spartacus, it's Crixus, right? Yeah. And he's like, I'd do what I did to your girl again. And he dies, and even as he dies, he's just defiant. I'm like, that's where me and Lonnie, I like a villain. It's like, look, man, I made all these decisions, and I'm not gonna say sorry for it. And I think that's how Griffith is gonna go out. He's gonna look there and sit there, and he's like,
no, for sure, he's not gonna apologize. And I listen, man, because apology doesn't mean anything at this point. It would mean nothing. Like, what is your apology going to do? Is that going to erase anything? It's not. Listen, man, that apology ain't going to do shit. If he were ever going to give one, he should keep it. He should keep it.
Absolutely.
That's not going to stop them from wanting to pack you up. They still want to kill you. Just keep it with you.
I didn't even ask about what the Bailet. I think that Bailet gets used, man. That Guts has, even if he's not the one using it, I think somebody uses that Bailet.
Maybe I couldn't see him using it, especially
it's just not Guts. Like I said, it would betray who Guts is as a character for him to rely on that power and how he's been portrayed as a struggler and this and that. But you know what? Let me lock it down. I'm gonna go grab my two pieces of scripture that Ty has written real quick. Ty, if you want to feel a little bit, just like 30 seconds, I'll be right back.
I got you. For the people out there, I'm working on a one shot that I just finished. So I better finish this thing.
All right, and I'm back. All right, y'all. Look, that's been an hour and damn near an hour and a half of us glazing and talking about Berserk and the great story that it is. But first things first, I need y'all to go support my boy Ty. Follow him on TikTok, on Instagram. Make sure you follow us at the BSS. By the time this comes out, this would be episode 44. We're talking about, actually, no, this will be past episode 44, where we're talking about the latest chapter and what just how technically Sukuna's story is finished and how the fight ends. And, you know, people had some problems with it. But I'm like, people are saying Gege fumbled. But I'm like, I feel like y'all said that about Gege before, and he surprised y'all. So I'm not going to disrespect what Gege has been doing. But make sure, I gotta make sure, go buy my boy Ty's manga called Hustle. Volume 1 and 2 are out on Amazon. If you go to his link tree, or even if you go to the BSS channel, and our link tree's in there. You can go get it there. My boy's cooking, except my boy leaves us volume 2, terrible cliffhanger, and now he's rebooting the series, but it's still great. It's about TJ. It's basically like, you know what, Ty? Let me not talk about it. You talk about it. This is your story.
I would say the new version. I can talk about the new version because this is where.
Let me hear. Let's get some new. Let's get some new
so
stuff.
Essentially, it's similar premise as far as there's this world for people get superpowers, but it's going to be more centered around the mystery of how his dad essentially went missing. And one of the main themes of my story is that what is justice, and because the justice system essentially didn't get justice for his dad, so TJ is now trying to figure out how to solve his dad's missing persons case. And he has to join this organization called the NDB, which is the Memphis Defense and Justice Bureau. But they're the ones that took on his dad case and essentially dropped it because there was no evidence. And so now TJ has to decide if he should join them so he can have access to be able to figure out this guy's case despite his lingering animosity towards them. It'll be kind of similar to, think Aaron in the Scouts, think Kafka working for the Kaiju Extermination Agency, things of that nature. It'll still have the same characters, but they'll be put in that program because I wanted to still have a school type setting, but more so fitting characters within the roles. I realized that characters that being in a role is so important, like Gus as a swordsman or a mercenary, Gon as a hunter, Nar as a ninja. Like there's usually a main role. The character, even SpongeBob as a fry cook, right? And that's something I learned about storytelling this past year and a half. And for a while, I was trying to figure out. I wasn't feeling the best about my story. I wanted to restructure it, but that took a long time to study for about a year and a half. And now I've come with this new version. I learned so many little things about storytelling that has actually literally blown my mind. So I want to share this. This is a page of the reboot.
Oh, let's go. We get new. Ooh, look at that. Oh my God.
Yeah,
look at
I'm excited
that.
about this.
Look, obviously if I'm being honest, Ty, I'm a little sad that you're taking a different direction because I think where you were going with I don't know how much of the original story you're keeping, but I think the new antagonist that you showed us were like, I was like, oh, I cannot.
He's still here. He's still in the story. So
okay, never mind. I'm back in. I'm all the way back in, Ty.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say this: and again, this makes it more. It makes TD a bit more active. That mafia he was involved with. Let's say for this conversation, they had something to do with his dad going missing. So it's still you still see Carlos and Harry. Like
Carlos is my dog, bro. I love Carlos.
The mafia aspect is still involved. It is just think of it like this. Think of the people that the agents, and again, my story instead of hunters, ninjas, pirates, they're called agents. Okay, right. So imagine like Scouts going against Titans, but think agents going against the mafia. That's how my story is. So it's more of characters fitting within a role. I'm so excited about it. You're still gonna see Carlos, Harry. You'll still see Mike, the leader of the Vice Mafia. All these characters will still be involved. The one-shot version, it's a completed story, and I actually tell people what happened to his dad. But just know that's not gonna be in the real story. It's not actually what happens. I expand it further because one-shot story, the story needs to be complete. So in the real chapter 1 version, they won't figure out how he died, but it will give TD motivation to eventually join the cadet program of the NDB to figure out how to solve his dad's case.
Okay, so will we, as the regular us peasants, be able to get our hands on that one shot when you send it out?
Yeah, I'm gonna post it for sure.
Hey, let me know because I need all the hustle media you got. Because
I might even let some of the BSS people. I might let y'all read it before I even send it off.
Oh, that'll be huge. Obviously I fell in love with Carlos. I mean, Carlos is a guy that I think a lot of people can really kind of understand his story from anybody who read. I don't want to spoil because even though he's rebooting his story, I still think these two manga, you kind of see where Ty was before and what he was thinking.
It's similar things.
They're still very good. Obviously, support your boy and his dreams, right? Because hey, I'm out here getting people to pray that your one shot gets picked up by the people, man. Because
listen, man, we gotta see. We don't know. We gotta see. I'm excited for it though.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna let you. I'll when we get a chance. I don't know if you want to do it afterwards. I can let you look through it.
No. Send it to me when it's done. Let me let you.
No, it's finished.
Oh, it's finished?
Yeah, it's finished.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about it afterwards. But also my girl Lisa, Lisa's story kind of mirrors a little bit of my own story in terms of, you know, at least from your original manga, the parental expectations and parental pressure. I understand that, especially because she's great. And I was like, look, I don't know what your plans were in the original one, but I always thought like, okay, her and TJ gonna get together at the end, you know.
I will say this: the parental. So I'm gonna do this thing right where she meets him in the cadet program. She gonna be in the cadet program, and she still has, because her parents have their own agency. Think like in Endeavor, right? Endeavor has their own agency.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like that. And they still have expectations of her to take over the family company, but she wants another path. Because because you know in Attack on Titan there's like scouts, military police. There are different sections they want to go to. She wants to go to a specific division, but her parents work in this division, have their own agency, so they want to push her to run that side of it. So
her parents really make me mad, man. Like they don't.
The thing about it is they're loving, but they just, it's kind of one of those things where like they love and they care about her, but they just have this vision for her and they can't unsee it. No, maybe they never will. Maybe they will. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look, man. I'll basically say this. There's a lot. Even the joke character, I think his power could be potentially very broken from the.
Talking about Jail of the Clones.
Yeah.
He's gonna be there too. I actually got a friend.
Look. Obviously, out of if I have a top 5, he's 5. But like his well, you call him gift. His gift could be potentially very broken, and I understand his place in the manga. And he clears Mineta. I don't care what nobody says. And I've only seen 2 chapters of him. I'm slandering Mineta until further notice.
Oh my God.
But anyway, Ty, make sure Ty's cooking up the new. I don't know what are you still gonna call it, Hustle?
Yep.
He's cooking up the new version of Hustle, but make sure you support his original manga Hustle. He got 2 volumes out there on Amazon. Check out his link tree. Make sure you follow us on the BSS because we're cooking. We're probably gonna argue a lot about Sukuna. We're probably gonna argue a lot about him. Man. I'm gonna lay out because I'm willing to see what Gege does next chapter because I think JJK is on break this week, right? Is it on break?
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's on break this week. So, and I've noticed he's done that, or Gege has done that a couple of times in terms of just like letting something happen, letting it breathe for a week, and then he comes back with another chapter. Especially since we have 3 more chapters left. And God, after JJK, like I posted that thing, and like the landscape of manga is changing even quicker than we thought. You know,
Kagurabachi.
My hero's gone. My hero's gone. JJK's about to be gone. Vinland's in its last saga. Like a lot of things are ending all at once. And Kagurabachi, I'm still kind of disagreeing because I think Spy Family could. I'm not saying Spy Family can run the Shonen Jump for a while, but I think it can be a great placeholder until if Kagurabachi is the one to carry Shonen Jump in the future, it's going to need some help because obviously you can have One Piece, but you know One Piece is One Piece. You need something to carry the flagship besides One Piece. So Kagurabachi seems to be the one, and we'll see. But also Berserk Volume 34. Is it 34?
35, I think 35.
Volume 35 coming out in the start of next year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the start of next year. If you like Berserk, get your head, because I'll say this. I've never spent more money on anything anime or manga related more than Berserk. And Ty, you've heard me. I love Mushoku Tensei. I love it. Other than the light novels that I have, never bought anything else. Berserk got all my, if I could find a way to afford a life-size version of that Dragon Slayer, I'd fucking do it. I would, because that shit is one of the coolest swords I've ever seen. And you know, it's you know, we're doing some things, but Ty, I really want to thank you for joining me on this, talking Berserk. This has been a lot of fun. I don't really get to do these conversations about Berserk with a lot of people, so you know, got to call, you know, the writer, the guy who probably who loves Berserk probably even more than I do, because you see things from your perspective as a mangaka, as a writer that I don't see.
I don't understand that. Say love it more. I think we both love it a lot, man. I'm just. It's just coming out consistently. That's the only thing.
I think it has a schedule. Now it comes out every 3 months, you know, and then not like they're giving us short chapters, man.
Give me once a month, you know. Let's
come on, Ty. You've been.
I know they won't. I can desire it, man.
If I can get, like I'll say this, if I can get every 2 months, I'd be the happiest boy. I'd be the happiest boy on the planet. Like every 2 months, we're getting a really good. Because guess what? Berserk's dropped more than Black Clover, which is crazy to think. Berserk's dropped more than Black Clover.
But you know what? I never got to experience weekly Berserk.
Berserk was never a weekly manga
or monthly. I never got to experience that. I never got.
I am a little bit, but then we also didn't experience the yearly Berserk.
Yeah,
we didn't experience that either. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm probably gonna do another one of these with Miles next. I just gotta find something to talk with him about. Maybe when we, because he's gonna make me sit down and watch 10 episodes a night of One Piece with them, and I'm gonna hate myself after a while because I need some sleep, unlike him. But eventually the Miles video will come soon, then the Riddell video, then J-Rob, but the man's always busy, so we'll figure out something. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Don't forget, Get Hustle, Volume 1 and 2. Support my boy Ty. Support your independent manga artists because they're cooking up work. They're cooking up great work. And bye, guys.